like the tail end of Joe Morgan and was it John Miller, right? On Sunday Night Baseball, like where I was getting into analytics and those guys were decidedly not into analytics. I loved both those guys until I ruined them for me. They didn't do anything. I ruined them for me.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned pro wrestling because I was actually thinking about the guy that criticized Ryan Rowland-Smith's accent. It was like the proper way to play this for maximum exposure is to fully lean into it and heel turn of like, I can't believe that you guys tolerate someone with an Australian accent. It would take you would have to have a huge tolerance for immediate hatred. But the potential, like 4 or 5 months down the road payoff for a full heel turn like that could be tremendous.
I agree with you, and I think that were he to have like a podcast instead of a radio show that's got sponsors and that wants access to that team. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's no way that I mean the radio's struggling enough as it is. They would have folded, and it's nothing about them in particular. Every radio station in the world would have folded the moment there was and by the way, that's probably what happened. I bet my instinct is that dude did not really want to apologize.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I wondered if he just stepped in it to a degree that it really surprised him.
Sure,
but I would tend to agree that he probably hoped he would never have to address it. That was kind of his, and maybe was told he needed to address it. I always thought when A-Rod, especially when he was with the Yankees and kind of started acting out and I was like, he's got to go full heel here. Like come out, do interviews with like women in bikinis on either side of you and being like, you hate me because you can't be me. Like just go full heel but you're right. Like people won't take the short-term hit in popularity or what the short-term cost, because if A-Rod had done that, he would be much more liked now. Like there would be a certain group of people that kind of care. Jay Cutler's a great example. Do you know that Jay Cutler's now popular in Chicago? Like people kind of like Jay Cutler. Yeah. Wow. And somebody asked him about it. He's like, yeah, it annoys me because I'm the exact same. And everybody hated me when I was here. And now they think it's kind of cool that I was aloof and indifferent and kind of couldn't be bothered with stuff. So I think if you have the pain tolerance for the initial blowback, like actually being an ass can be a long-term solid career move.
When the Marc James thing happened, I have a comedy podcast with a buddy of mine named Jess Everett. At the time, it was called the Underseasoned Podcast.
Uh-huh.
And we found out because they commented on our YouTube that there was an Australian barbecue podcast called the Underseasoned Barbecue Show. And we had like some good interactions with them on Instagram or whatever, and we decided to change the name, but I was like, hey guys, I think we could both get a little bit out of this. Do you guys want to do like a pro wrestling thing out of it? And so I went on an episode and I was like, these koala smoking motherfuckers, like I went so much further than Marc James went. And I don't have there's no radio station looking to hire or fire me, so it didn't matter. But I was like, if Seattle turns in favor that hard of Australia, I got a lot of bad tape out there on me. Because we
Oh, that's so funny.
I said, you like wallaby smoking British prisoner colony. Like I did everything. I said everything. I just gave all the facts I knew about Australia, and it was like, I mean, you know, they thought it was great. Whether a person who finds it on social media and has a Seattle sensibility in the moment when Ryan Rowland-Smith became a hero is gonna, and I got nothing against Australians or Ryan Rowland-Smith. It was very funny for all of us, all involved. And, but yeah, I was like, damn, am I going to have to apologize for this thing that we agreed was funny, me and everyone else involved? If the Ryan Rowland-Smith thing got big enough.
You'd be accused of a version of a hate crime. Like, no,
xenophobia against Australians.
I did think of that, was like, because there were some people of like, how dare you make fun of his accent? And I was like, I get that, because that is like a legit thing. Like you shouldn't be. I was like, but it's generally not applied to Australians. Like it was just it tweaked it a little bit where I realized I didn't have the same defensiveness of Australians that I probably should. Like I don't think of them people being disadvantaged because people don't want to listen to Australians. Like generally everybody likes the Australians.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty. Making fun of someone's accent, I think, is like. I mean, I'm coming from a different world, obviously, but like that feels pretty fair game to me. I think there's some accents that people rightfully and sometimes not that rightfully get mad at, but I don't think Australians are in that hierarchy. I think we're allowed to make fun of Australians. That's my stance on the whole thing is we can do it. That's fine.
If the rules change, I'd like a memo. I'll adjust my behavior accordingly.
Give me immunity for the past and 60 days notice to get out all of my Australian hate, and then we'll move on. Yeah, and I think that guy kept his job, right? The dude, yeah. And maybe, like you said, or I think we might have said this off the podcast, but like radio's everyone has an expiration date. I took radio classes in college, and they said, like, your career doesn't start until you've been fired for the first time, is what they told us in college going into that industry. I'm, I by the way, not this dude's first job, and he's got other controversy in his past, whatever. I don't even want to get into that. To me, it felt like a very Seattle overreaction to a thing. Yes. And even, like, by the way, the guy that he interviewed that he shat on, I felt bad for that guy, but like it's in the pro wrestling thing, like it could have all been much more fun than this like finger wagging thing that we were doing and like calling for them to fire him because he made fun of an Australian. Give us a break. I don't know.
I generally feel like in those sort of things, like you absolutely have the right to say I'm never going to appear or I'm never. And I thought Luke kind of he said his piece, and then the guy came back like doubly hard, and he ended up looking bad, and that's the end of it. Like, do you need to have a firm stand on it? Not really. Like, I don't think everything needs to be a referendum. Sometimes it's just a little data point about a person, and if Luke was put off by it and didn't want to go on his program again, and great. And if the guy was like, I'm bent out of shape because you said that publicly, and I'm going to say that your interview was boring, like, everybody, all of these things eventually get sorted out. Like there was no permanent harm done anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I think the real lesson is to pre-record your interviews, I guess, because
no, that's actually the real lesson here is don't tweet. Because if you just say things, they vanish into the ether. They are a fart in the wind. But when you tweet things, like your exact words get cycled around, and there's no ability to say like, oh, you didn't get the right context for that. What did you actually say? Did you hear it? Like when you tweet it, you're just hanging both your butt cheeks out in the air for everybody to look at your ass.
It's also funny because, by the way, if you're on the pre-recording note, this interview was actually 3.5 hours long. Anything offensive Danny said has been cut out. So if it's not 3.5 hours long, just know that there was some really horrible shit that was said that I cut out. I won't stand for it or stand behind it, but
he's got a real problem with Australians.
Yeah.